Never run from an immortal. It attracts their attention. And then we have 5 classic fantasy animations that every role player should see. Now, I decided to keep these separate from the films just because, I think each one needs its own category. And if we're just, talking about, video media, we'll stick with these. I mean, I could mention books and comics and everything, but we'll stick to video media like everybody else. The first one I am going to mention that I think is just untapped material for some people is The Yellow Submarine. Now, this was made in the 60s, 69 to be precise. The Beatles in this movie, they're of course not voiced by the Beatles except for the very last song and the Hey Bulldog song if you're watching the UK version. But they're just, if you see it from beginning to end, I mean, I remember watching it as a kid and just being totally blown away by how cool the animation was, and then watching it again as an adult and being like, whoa, Ringo's messed up, man. He's like, what the hell? But he's my favorite guy in the whole movie, Ringo. And, but yeah, it's just a crazy freaking acid trip adventure. The animators, they just went nuts with this, and it was completely awesome. They get together, they have their adventure, they go on little quests, pick up extra party members, and, in the end, they go and beat the bad guys. The Beatles just completely win throughout the whole movie. And there's music. The Beatles do music, just in case you didn't know. The next one that I'll mention also has something to do with music. Is The Last Unicorn. The entire score of that movie being done by America, who incidentally, their lead singer died earlier this year, and we didn't get to go see them in concert like we'd planned, unfortunately, so we'll never get to do that again. But The Last Unicorn is an animated feature-length movie from the 80s, and it starts out with a unicorn. You don't have a normal adventuring party starting out here. It's a freaking unicorn, going off and finding out what the hell happened to all the other unicorns. And she gathers her own party members, together, people she feels, have a, pure heart and worthy to, be in her party. And they're just, bumbling misfits after all, which I guess she probably feels herself as, a misfit. She's just this innocent young unicorn. No other unicorns around to tell her what's up. And, she finds her place, and I won't ruin it for you. She turns into a human from a spell and falls in love with the prince of this evil bastard. And eventually, they figure out the puzzles, and they, beat the Red Bull, and, because Red Bull sucks, and then all the unicorns get out, and it's just a huge win for unicorns, and except she's been human now, and she just feels outcast even more, but she's like, I'll live with it. I'm a unicorn. I'm good. So, the next one, another old one. I think this one's from the 50s actually. It's called the Phantom Tollbooth. Another one that not many people have heard of, just probably because it's so old. Now this one, it starts out and ends as live action, but the bulk of the movie is animated. You got Milo, completely bored with everyday life, and he's all like, I wish something would happen, and this magic toll booth appears in his room, and he hops in this little car that appears there, and drives through the toll booth and becomes a cartoon. And he goes on this adventure of self-discovery through this land, and learns a lot of good life lessons. This is a very good movie to show your children, not too young at age, because it's a little scary at times, especially for kids. I remember watching it as a kid, and Oh boy, this trippy movie. But yeah, it's a good old cartoon, and definitely, Milo has an awesome adventure. Um, Learns a lot for himself, saves the land, goes back home, and you know is wiser for it. Another one I'd like to mention from long ago is Wizards. This is a animation by Ralph Bakshi, and he does a lot of different methods of his animation, and that's what he's known for. Also for just a lot of controversial things that he did back in the day that considered today tame by today's standards, but yeah, it's a good story about good wizard versus bad wizard. The world has been fucked by a nuclear explosion, and then all the magic's starting to come back, and this fairy princess gives birth to two twins, one good guy, one bad guy, and they grow up just rivals. And the bad one is trying to revive old technology from the world, and trying to fight the fairies with his mutants and robots and all that. It's pretty funny, some parts, but I'm not gonna ruin it for you. Ralph Bakshi wins. It's such a total twist ending. I didn't realize it when I was a kid how much of a twist ending it was, but watching it as an adult, it's like, oh, that's how he won. Okay. And the very last one I'm going to mention is The Dark Crystal, which is not a cartoon animation, but it's arranged entirely with the Muppets, and those are, animated props, so I consider that an animation, personally. There's no real people in it at all, except probably the hand up the puppet's ass, but who knows. So, yeah, it's a planet that's not even Earth, but it's all fantasy. And, there's, magic and special powers, and, the little Muppet people, they go through and, meet each other and get together and, go on their quest to, put the crystal back together and, reform their society. And I'm like, okay, you got two surviving people, a girl and a guy. You're going to reform a whole society. That sounds like some biblical stuff here, but, a lot of fantasy is based on things, ancient texts like the Bible and stuff. But that's just, it's just an amazing work of art as a film. All these are. They're all works of art. And, with a fantasy aspect, give them a watch. It'll give you some ideas for characters, for monsters, NPCs. All these cartoons are awesome. And any books they're based on, I also recommend giving those a look too. In particular, art books. Art books on these are awesome. So, when you agree to disagree. They've killed Fritz!